Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third habit, knowing strengths equals knowing uniqueness as part of your 5 habits. So this is the third one in the series. So let's get started. Dooby-dooby-doo, sharing, and we're away. Rightio. Okay, so as I mentioned, of the 5 habits, we have done the superpower of reflection. We've done the superpower of dreaming. So your 2 superpowers, done. And with that, you will have gotten a nice, juicy list of lots of different things that you can kind of look at and work through. So that's pretty exciting. The next part that we're going to cover today is knowing strengths equals knowing uniqueness. So it's a critical one for the habits, as all they all are, but it's worthwhile knowing what that looks like. So let's jump in. Third habit, knowing strengths equals knowing uniqueness. Nice little emoji there for a little bit of iron pumping. Why knowing your strengths is important is that when people focus on their strengths, and I'll talk a little bit about what the strengths are in a minute, they're 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life. Anyone want an excellent quality of life? That's totes me. And 6 times as likely to be engaged in their job. So if you are an employer or somebody that works with a team of people, knowing that someone is 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs is pretty profound in terms of discretionary effort, going outside, innovative thinking and a few other bits and pieces. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that I really like about this one, and I'll talk about why this particular model I like the best, is that 1 in 33 million is your chance of having someone that's your strength twin. So that is your top 5, same top 5, and in exactly the same order. Because the way that they work is they kind of amplify each of the different strengths that kind of exist in each other. So there is a way for you to find out your doppelganger in terms of strengths of the 1 in 33 million. So it feels very personalized. It feels very about me and about the things that I'm good at, as opposed to the things that, on a scale, you're somewhere on that scale and you feel like it doesn't kind of fit. So what are strengths? Because that's obviously a key thing to know. What they define as talent first is the naturally reoccurring pattern of thought, feeling, behavior that can be productively applied. So if I give an example from my childhood, and one of mine is positivity, but if I give a strength from my childhood, I was always trying to make people feel better with my infectious enthusiasm. I would see weeds that would be amazing flowers because I'd appreciate the color in them. So that's kind of like a naturally occurring thought, feeling, or behavior. I can turn it off if I need to, but it just happens automatically. So it's just the way that I would work through things. And the same applies for all of my other talents, is that they are naturally occurring, happens without me even thinking about it. And it's something that I like doing as well. Now, Clifton and Gallup, so it's called Clifton Strengths, and I'll tell you about the dude that sort of talked about it in a minute. But Gallup, who we know measure everything that moves, has classified those talents then into 34 themes. So these are kind of the things that you use to kind of work that through. The most dominant of those themes are called your strengths. So you'll have dominant strengths, supporting strengths, and then lesser strengths. So the idea is that they're all strengths and you can do all of them, but some you will just do so automatically that'll be easy. Supporting strengths, you probably have to sort of call on a little bit. Supporting strengths, while you can do them, no questions asked, you might just find it a little bit trickier. So here is Donald Clifton, who is a psychologist and business executive. And I quite like this quote from him. Because if you've ever been in a performance review and a performance appraisal process, there's always feedback around what you could do better in the future. So you're constantly getting that kind of, sometimes you feel like a slap in the face when you're kind of like, oh, did I do anything right? Because all I've got is this corrective behavior rather than actually reinforcing stuff. So Don asks, what would happen if we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them? And as a psychologist, 1924, that would probably be a pretty unique perspective to take. But let me just repeat that. Now, what if we focused on what was right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them. So I think it's quite a profound shift in thinking. Now, these are some of the examples that I told you that if you are 6 times more engaged with your work because of you're applying your strengths, then this is what that looks like. So it looks, you look forward to going to work. You have more positive than negative interactions with your co-workers. You treat customers better. You tell your friends that you work at a great company. You achieve more on a daily basis, so literally get through more. And you have more positive, creative, and innovative moments. And there's 2 kind of positives in that thing, but there's like, that doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't have positivity that you're not still positive, but you would absolutely be. Because if you think about it, you're working with what you're naturally talented and gifted at, and you're applying that to the situation that you're in. There has been some comments from people about saying you should always be looking at the areas that you might need to improve. But my experience is that if you fixate on those and it literally becomes a fixation, then you're just going to make it a little bit better. Whereas if you really focus on these and then address the issues or address the lesser strengths, not issues, lesser strengths, and there's lots of creative ways to do that, then that means that you are going to be much more, all of these things, much more positive, much more creative, much more innovative, much more engaged, much happier, because you're not trying to, bang against your kind of normal way of operating. So I recommend the Gallup, the Clifton Strengths. There's other free ones, and in the email that you get, you'll have links to those. There's the VAA, which is based on Martin Seligman's work. There's also another one called Strengths Profile, which sort of gives you hidden and blind spots and other things as well. Like literally, if there was a personality profiling tool out there that told me what sort of a dog I would be, I would totally do it. Or what sort of color I am, totally do it. So I would do anything that moves, and I have done all of these. So this one, though, I recommend because it speaks to exactly me. So those top 5, even if you didn't know the full details associated with it, are absolutely part of who I've been since I was young. So the positivity, the strategic, the futuristic thinking, the ideation, I can generate ideas like nobody's business, and the relator having deep and enduring relationships. That is me in a nutshell. When you add the other ones, I make a little bit more sense. The learner, the intellection, the input, the maximizer, and the empathy. Maximizer is always good, better, best. So that's the one that kind of is in the influencing realm. But the rest of them are in the strategic with a little bit of relationships in there. And that makes sense because I spent a lot of time in my head working stuff out. So makes complete sense when I look at that. Now, you might have automatically drawn your eyes down to the bottom one. That is one that I'm not terribly good at. I'm not terribly good at consistency. And so what I've done to address that is I've built in processes and mechanisms that mean I can be more consistent around the way that I show up so that I can address that, and then I don't need to worry about it. Doesn't need to fixate on it. Okay, so knowing your strengths is important because you'll know your unique contribution. So what is it that only you can bring to the table that makes everything a little bit more magical? You can also then design your life to be more of what you are. So in terms of your strengths, how do you then leverage those? How do you take that on board? So for me, it's obvious that I need to do stuff that's strategic and greenfield and creating like a better future for things. So that is absolutely clear for me. Now your profile blah, 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 might not be as clear, but it could be things like, so there's a friend of mine where it's the type of organization she's got belief and a number of other related strengths, connectedness and stuff at the top of her profile. So it's probably not necessarily, so it probably is a little bit of what she does, but it's probably also who she does that with and what the purpose of that organization is. Other people may not care about that and may not be as important to them, may not need to believe as much, and therefore they can use their strengths to do other things. So it kind of gives you a little bit of that. The last part that I think is really, really important is it actually celebrates you, and it celebrates everything that is wonderful and awesome about you, rather than trying to pull you down to all the things you need to improve. So neat contribution. You can design your life so that you can be more that way, and also it celebrates you. Yay. So 3 done, 2 to go. So that means you've now reflected, you've now dreamt, and you've now know what your strengths and uniqueness is, aras. I don't know which one it might be, but you now know what they are. So that leaves us 2 habits to go. And with those 2 habits out of the 5, we'll be doing contextual beacon, and we'll be doing, brain stopped, strategic life map, which is just an overview of kind of how you get to that strategic life map that you can use every year. So knowing strengths, knowing uniqueness is about today's profile, and it's about saying this is how you show up in all your gloriousness. And there's some information in the email that means that you can work out how you might be able to get that at a bit of a discount and a bit of a debrief. So enjoy.